Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Tamara, and today we are discussing our July buddy read thriller title. If you would like to see this in video format without ad breaks, you need to head on over to Patreon and sign up. Along with ad-free video podcast episodes, you'll gain access to after shows, reading vlogs, and other exclusive content. If you're not into Patreon and you happen to be listening on the Spreaker podcast app, you too now have access to the after shows and other exclusive content in audio only. So if you prefer videos, including vlogs, you'll need to check out Patreon instead. Join me and my two co-hosts over on the Book Clubs app for even more bookish chats. Please subscribe and like the podcast wherever you're listening. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me pretty much everywhere at Shelf Addiction. Joining me today is featured co-host Classy from the Bookish Virtual Assistant. Welcome back, Classy.
Hey, Tamara. Hey, everybody. Thanks for welcoming me back.
Of course.
I said it all the time, like, you ain't gonna welcome me back, but I never know. I never know.
Tell everyone where they can find you online.
You can find me online on all social media platforms. I left X. We'll talk about that later.
Ooh, after show?
Just a jerk. But anywho.
Okay, girl. Yeah, okay, girl. I get it. Okay.
You can find me on all social media platforms except for X under Classy Green or the Bookish Virtual Assistant.
Okay. So before we begin, I want to remind you that we talk full spoilers with book chats. So spoiler alert, you've been warned. Today, we are discussing the book If Something Happens to Me, written by Alex Finlay. The audiobook is narrated by Helen Laser, John Perala, and Paul Dete. Published on May 28th, 2024 by Minotaur Books and Macmillan Audio. The hardcover comes in at 324 pages, and the unabridged audio is 7 hours and 16 minutes. Classy, would you kindly share the synopsis?
Absolutely. For the past 5 years, Ryan Richardson has relived that terrible night. The car door ripping open, the crushing blow to the head, the hands yanking him from the vehicle, his girlfriend Allie's piercing scream as she is taken. With no trace of Allie or the car, a cloud of suspicion hangs over Ryan. With no proof and a good lawyer, he's never charged. Though that doesn't matter to the podcasters and internet trolls. Now Ryan has changed his last name and entered law school. He's put his past behind him. Until on a summer trip abroad to Italy with his law school classmates, Ryan gets a call from his father. Allie's car has finally been found, submerged in a lake in his hometown. Inside are 2 dead men and a cryptic note with 5 words written on the envelope in Allie's handwriting. If something happens to me. Then, halfway around the world, the unthinkable happens. Ryan sees the man who has haunted his dreams since that night. As Ryan races from the rolling hills of Tuscany to a rural village in the UK to the glittering streets of Paris in search of the truth, he has no idea that his salvation may lie with a young sheriff's deputy in Kansas working her first case, and a mobster in Philadelphia who's experienced tragedy of his own. In classic Alex Finlay form, If Something Happens to Me is told from several distinct, compelling characters whose paths intersect, detonating into a story of twist after pulse-pounding twist. The story cements Finlay as one of the leading thriller writers of today.
All right. So, as we do, what did you think when you finished the book?
I thought it was a good story. I enjoyed the twist. I was like, okay, Mr. Finlay. Because I can't remember what story we read last by him, and I gave it 3 stars. So I came into this story hopeful, and I was pleasantly, I won't say pleasantly surprised, because his writing, the last story wasn't horrible that we listened to, but I enjoyed it, and I thought the pace was great.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it, and I think the best part was the pace to me. Like, it was so fast. It was really zippy from beginning to end, which is usually something that doesn't happen on these kind of books. Usually there's some lagging somewhere, or it starts slow, or, it wasn't that up and down of speed. It was very quick. I mean, I got it done in 24 hours.
Yeah. At one point I looked and I'm like, how long is this? Because
it's short.
Yeah, because I felt like the pacing was so fast. I was like, gosh, it felt like 4 or 5 hours, but it wasn't. I don't, you know what I mean? So I really did enjoy it from start to finish. As you said too, with these type of stories, there's usually a lull, like right in the middle or towards the end. And I felt like it was about to happen, but I didn't notice it because the storyline and all the different points of views and the twist and everything. I think I was just so excited to see it. Like, how is he going to bring this together?
Yeah. And, I think he did a good job with bringing everything together, because he told a story from 3 different parts of the world. I mean, 2 in the US, but 2 different states, like not close together. We're talking about something happening in Italy, something happening in Philly, and then something happening in Kansas. Was it Kansas?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and it's like those all kind of came together and kind of melded in an interesting way. Because at first I was kind of nervous. I'm like, well, this is kind of all over the place. When I read the synopsis, I'm like, what am I going to get?
Yeah. Exactly. Like you said, the rolling hills of Tuscany to Paris to, because I mean, when you read this, because I didn't really read the synopsis. And lately,
London too. He made a stop in London.
Yeah, and because and if I did read the synopsis, it was so long ago because we picked the book so far in advance. Not so far in advance, but at least 3 months in advance. So I couldn't remember. But then just to kind of hear these different, the different stories, and to start off with Ryan and him and I'm like, okay, Ryan and his girlfriend, he's lost. And I'm like, okay, so what's going on? But he kept my attention, even with the crazy college, his college classmates and this Nora girl. But he does, he draws you in. But he also dangles a storyline in front of you, and then he switches it on you. Because, like in the beginning with Ryan's story, and they're in Tuscany, and then they go on the hot air balloon ride, or just before the hot air balloon ride, he gets a note, right, that says, I know you, or whatever, or meet me here. Basically, someone knows who he is. Oh, I know who you are. Because Ryan has moved to Tuscany. Oh, he's in law school, has changed his name. He's abroad and has changed his name. And he received a note that says, I know who you are, blah, blah, blah. He's in the hot air balloon. And there's a guy who pulls up, takes off his gloves, and Ryan has a panic attack, basically, on the hot air balloon.
Missing finger alert.
Yeah, because I think they don't mention in the synopsis, but the guy who took Ryan's girlfriend, Allie, out of the car was missing not 1 pinky finger, but 2 pinky fingers. So he is very distinguished, recognizable. So when he took off his glove, he was probably like, "Hey, Ryan!" That's all like, "Hey!"
I mean, he called the guy a monster. He had really unclear memories about that, to the point where he thought for a minute, was he thinking something that didn't happen? So for him to see him really made him feel, I guess, vindicated, like he is real. This is happening.
Yeah, because memories can be, what is the word I want to say? Not clear. Memory can't be justifiable or used to be like isn't always perfect.
Especially with trauma, and he felt trauma in that what happened to them.
Right. And he had
Yeah.
said he had been hypnotized to the point where he only had like seconds of that moment. And it was basically seconds of his life where this man yanked his girlfriend out. So yeah, to see that, like you said, he
yanked him out. He yanked him out and knocked him over the head, clocked him one.
Yeah. And that's all he remembers is that the man doesn't have pinkies. And can you imagine you telling that story? You're like,
honestly, that is a very interesting thing to remember about somebody. And he did do a face recognition. You know, he did have them do a drawing.
Right.
But in that moment, it's happening so fast. And then you've been hit on the head. It's like, well, I think he didn't have two pinky fingers.
Right. And it's like, sure, he may have, according to how he grabbed you, it may have looked like he didn't have two pinky fingers. But the man did not have two pinky fingers. His fingers are removed because he owed a debt to the mob, basically.
He was tortured. They like chop chop.
That or some pruning shears like O did on the sheriff. But yeah, so he dangled that storyline with us about Ryan seeing the monster who snatched his girlfriend. And then I think it immediately went to another storyline. I think it went to Poppy. And Poppy McGee is the new deputy sheriff in Kansas. So we go from Tuscany to Kansas. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And she's got an interesting thing going on there. Like her father is in charge and she's got this weirdo brother that seemed like he lied about something, and she's kind of been told, hey, you're brand new, but you're going to help figure out this case with us. But not really. They don't really want her to figure anything out. They just gave her the little thin ass, report from before. I don't know what they expected her to do, to just be like, oh, well, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. You know what? Let's let her just work on this little project. But I don't think that was like initially her project, because when she came in, the car was found, right? On the day that she started.
Her first day.
Yeah. Her first day, Allie's car submerged. Well, was found by these podcasters, these true crime podcasters who basically broke the story. And then it went from there, and it's like, oh, you know what? You don't have anything to do. Like you said, you work on this. And they gave her that case, but her dad was her dad, was he on the sheriff? Did he work for the police too at one point?
He did.
Because
I don't know if he did currently, but he did back then.
Back in the day, yeah. Because he was sick, and she had came back home, take care of him, and but I know her dad and the sheriff were former military buddies. So and they helped kind of get her that job because she had a secret of her own. She got kicked out of the military.
Yeah. So I think that is okay. The connections of those three men is kind of where I started getting a little bit of the flux. And it turns out that the accountant who is Allison's dad was also in the military with those two. And then I was like, well, who was the one so it was Poppy's father that ran that police department, right? Because he was the one who told her we already got all the stuff, right? Wasn't that?
I believe so. And then at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
he worked on it back when that other drunkard guy was with the detective. And then he was like, you better check your own house or something.
Yeah. So her dad was
involved.
Right. So her dad and I can't remember, the current sheriff worked on the police force or sheriff or whatever at the time of Allison's disappearance or her kidnapping at that time. And that's where this story kind of gets a little murky, because Alex Finlay kind of did time
reverse
jump.
time jump.
But he did it so much better than Mary Kubika did.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God, how did we get this?
Yeah, because I think it was part 2 or something. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, did we jump 4 years? I said, wait a minute, no.
Yes. Because when you were saying that, I was like, wait, he time jumped on there. But he did it so smooth, like the storytelling was like, I don't know, but I think he did a much better job than Mary Kubika did with the timeline of this story. Because like you said, we went from Poppy being a deputy, and then we went to Shane O'Leary being on a boat, him and his friend. I thought that was the funniest damn story. It was short, but it was funny as fuck to me. That him and his friend, his wife called, yeah, honey, we're out here on the boat. I'm thinking they're out there fishing. No, they're giving somebody some cement shoes.
Yeah.
Because they're the mafia or whatever. They're the handlers.
Yeah.
So we go from that, and then we go, we jump back and forth, and I'm like, how are these stories connected? And then we move to Michael Lane, who is
he's an accountant.
Shane O'Leary's accountant, who helps him basically launder money through several different accounts, so the feds won't ever know that this is dirty money. And he kind of calls Michael in and say, hey, my son is not doing well at this school. He's not getting along with kids. Can you talk to your daughter, see if she can get him some friends?
Or know what's going on.
Yeah. And I'm like, ooh. So we got, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 storylines almost. And
then we find out what happens to his son. So we actually get Allison's story in her own time, which is connected to O'Leary's story.
Yeah.
And the father's story. It's like everything is interconnected, but we were told it. I don't know. This guy, his plot was so tight.
Yeah.
Finlay, he laid this plot out,
man,
in such a way, and it was organized, and it wasn't confusing. Although sometimes I did kind of get a couple of people confused at certain points, but it was the construction of it was meticulous.
I know. Did you ever think at one point you're like, I know he had a board with yarn and somebody like this and some Post-it notes and tying all, because it was intricate.
Yeah.
It was so intricate, and he wrapped it up. Not only was it intricate, he wrapped it up in a nice little bow at the end. It felt like a little rushed a little bit, but everything that I was like, well, what about that? I wonder what happened there. He wrapped it all up.
Yeah, nothing was left open.
No, but like you said too, that the story was just so intricate. We had, because I counted. So we heard the story from Ryan's point of view, Poppy's point of view, Shane O'Leary's point of view, Allie's dad, Michael's point of view.
And Allie, because she told her own story of what. Yeah,
at one point, yep. And then even Chaz had a story, which at the end. So here you got all these points of view at different times within the story. But I think the thing that really got me is whose storyline? Shane O'Leary's story and Michael, I can't remember the last name. Was their name like Lane?
It was constantly changing. So,
like those two storylines, Michael, the accountant, and Shane O'Leary's story were basically told 5 years prior. They were right. And we didn't realize it until... Gosh, I can't remember what part of this.
When Michael was telling, because remember they had to run, and Allison was pissed at Michael, her daddy, like, why do we have to do this? How did you even get tied up with this guy? And he said, well, as a matter of fact, your mother had a severe gambling habit. Well, she had a buying habit. And then when he cut that off, she switched to gambling.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got in debt to the mobsters. And then your mother up and dies. And guess who inherited the debt?
Yeah. And to
That's
make
how
it
I got
even,
mixed
right?
in.
And to make it even, I had to launder their money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, through all these, offshore accounts and this and that. And then all of a sudden the FBI agents are like, hey.
But though, it's so crazy because Allison says, this is my fault. And then her little friend, Ryan's like, no, it's not your fault. I'm like, yeah, it is her fault. Because if she was a little asshole when she was 14. This is one of the few times that something you do when you're 14 lives with you forever.
Yeah. But we didn't know. Like, we saw her in the mirror when the dad said, hey, look in the mirror, because the dad, Allison showed her dad the recording because what happened is Shane O'Leary's son, Anthony, was being bullied at school and at a party. And in the mirror, you could see the students who were basically kind of doing the bullying.
It was 4 of them doing the bullying.
Yeah. And the daughter was in the mirror as well, his daughter, Allison. But we didn't know the extent of her bullying until later in the story, that she was the one who told him that some other girl at the party wanted to make out with him and to go into the bathroom. So she led him to...
She was the bait. She got him there.
Yeah.
And though, the author did a good job of concealing how much her involvement was, because earlier on, we get that scene where she stands up to someone else who is bullying somebody in school, but that's after. That's later in the future.
Yes, exactly. But we didn't know it was the future.
We didn't know that at first. Yeah. So I'm thinking, well, she must have witnessed it and didn't do anything. But then later we find out,
Yeah, that she was like, not this time, not on this watch. I cannot allow someone to die on my watch, basically.
Yeah, like someone died from bullying before and I was involved in it. And now she's like anti-bullying. Like, I'll stand up to anybody for somebody because she doesn't want any more blood on her hands.
No. Yeah. Because I just thought that, okay, she was in the mirror. I thought she just witnessed it and didn't do anything, which is bad too. But, but anyway, the dad found out and he basically got everyone involved killed. And that's when the FBI agent came in and said, you know what?
They're gunning for you next, sir. You want to help us out here or what?
You and your daughter are next on the line. And he's like, no, there was a fire. And she was like, do you really think there was a fire? Do you really think those 2 14-year-olds died of a fentanyl
But look,
overdose?
That didn't even do it for him. What did it was when O'Leary called him and said, I'm going to need you to move all my money. He was like, fuck.
Right, because he's like, this is money that I'm not even involved in.
He said if this money goes, he's got someone else to take care of it. That means he no longer needs me.
I am a casualty.
Yeah.
Collateral damage.
I can't help but wonder if, and I know it was a part of the plot's design, but I can't help but wonder, had Mike went to him and said, dude, I just found out that something really bad happened to your kid and I didn't know when we first talked, but I know now.
Yeah.
And maybe everyone else would have died except him. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or he could have just killed him on the spot. Who knows?
I know. But I think the problem is that he was hoping, and like you said, this was all plot design, that by telling the headmaster that he would jump in and say, oh, we don't do that here. We're anti-bully. That's what he was hoping, that the headmaster was going to take care of this and all of that would be taken care of. And, O'Leary would know, look, see, you talk to the parents and blah, 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 because he saw his daughter in that mirror. But he never thought that video was going to get out.
No, he didn't think it would get out. But he was okay with them covering it. I think originally what you're saying is what he had in mind. But when he realized that the headmaster wasn't going for it, because all of those kids were kids of influential people, he was fine with it. He just wanted to cover it up as well. And of course, O'Leary has his connections, and he's like jailbreaking phones and laptops, and he's gonna get it. I'm like, the minute they went in there to talk to that, chancellor or principal, whatever, and he just lied to their face. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get that video.
Especially when he said before, we talked to them before. And when I heard that line, I was like,
he gave himself away. He's like, before what?
I know. I was in the car, and you should have saw my mom. I was like, ooh. I went back and was like, did I just hear? And then later on, when he was talking to whoever, he was like, oh, I think he was talking to Chaz, probably. He was like, no, that chancellor knows something, because he said he talked to somebody before. So that means there was a problem before, and they knew about it. And I was like, oh, shit. And I was like, it's getting good. It's about to get good.
And also, I can't help but wonder, and again, we know this is designed this way, but had the wife and mother felt some kind of closure, would he have gone as hard after them? Because she was the one that came and said, what kind of gang are you? You better take care of this shit, basically.
What kind of gangster are you? My baby is dead, and there's other people still living. Shit. And you know what it reminded me of? I don't know if you've seen this show called Your Honor. Oh, yeah. His wife kind of reminds me of the wife from Your Honor. She was the wife of her dad was the mafia leader, basically, and she married a guy, and he kind of inherited it. Oh gosh, but she kind of inherited it, and they lost a son, and the dad didn't do what this dad didn't do. Kind of like, you just kind of poo-pooed this. You should be out here killing everybody. It should be scorched earth. My son is dead. Everybody should be dead that was possibly involved. And she reminded me of her. But then they were like childhood sweethearts.
Yeah, I saw another thing that it was a similar theme, except for it was a woman boss. And she basically said everybody is going to die, whoever was involved. So that's not, okay, so that's the thing. These aren't necessarily new, fresh themes, but the way he utilized them made like new. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then for Gina to kind of, she lost all, she was no longer the same. She was probably dead to the world. She probably was just a shell of a person. That's all I could see is she was no longer the same. She probably didn't have that vibrancy that they had when Anthony was around. So and that was the love of his life, and he would do anything for her. So yeah, I think if she kind of would have accepted the death, or even if she didn't know, well, no, they would have found out that he got bullied. Yeah.
I mean, because that was the linchpin for everything. Was killing everybody that bullied their son, and their parents had covered it up. Yeah. That was the nucleus of everything.
Yeah. Somebody's got to pay.
Yeah.
And O'Leary was like, not just one, all of y'all. All of you.
Tick, tick. If you had involvement, you're better run.
Yeah. I mean, right. Because he killed all of the so it was 4 people. It was 2 two fentanyl. Allison was one. I can't remember the other one. But anyway, I think it was like 4 people involved. And all of those kids died, basically.
All 4 of the children died.
Well, except for Allison.
Yeah, except for Allison. Well, so that means 3 of the 4 children died. The principal died.
Mm-hmm. In a fire.
And I think one of the kids was in the fire too. That's what it was. And then 2 of them had fentanyl overdoses.
Yeah.
Or one of them had a car accident. Maybe that's what it is. There was a fire, 2 fentanyl overdoses, and wasn't there a car accident? Was there a car accident? Am I remembering that wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something funky happened. It just happened really quick, back to back to back. All these people just died. And Allison was like bawling her little eyes out as a 14-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think she started putting the pieces together like, oh, crap.
Yeah, which is when she confronted her daddy. You know, they're like, we got to go. We got to run. We got to go into witness protection. And she's like, but why? Like, you little brat. Because of your ass. You and your mother. This is why we're here.
Basically. If your mother didn't do this, I wouldn't have known the O'Learys. And then if you didn't do this yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, all those little connections. I didn't even think about that.
You know, and again, kids just like, why? That is a symptom of today. Everybody wants to record shit.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you harass someone to that extent and record it? Because they want proof. They want to laugh about it. They want to spread it around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you always get caught.
Yep. And it's always got to be the first one to record and the first one to share. I mean, yeah. And yeah. Viral videos again.
Look, kids nowadays, you can't get away with nothing because everything is on camera. Don't even try.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though you think you can get rid of it, there's always something. No. Look at was able to crack all kind of shit in those phones. I think he probably was the one who found the tech stuff that we just didn't know his name at the time, who was able to get into the chancellor's phone.
I don't know if it was or if he knew a guy, because I remember he was at like the funeral or something, or the wake or something, and he was like, I'll tell you later, and he's like, tell me now.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, he shows them the video.
Yeah.
That's got to be like heartbreaking for a parent to like see that and know their kid committed suicide as a result of that bullying. And I'm sure there was other bullying involved. That was just the last straw.
Yeah, right. Because the mom had said he wasn't feeling basically not involved, but what's my brain? Perimenopause brain. It's not even peri, it's menopause brain.
Girl. It's fine.
You know, like he didn't feel like he belonged. He didn't feel
he didn't fit
a
in.
part or included in the school, and he felt like an outsider. So she knew that. So this had been going on because, you know, when the dad would call, she would say, Anthony's, you know, he doesn't want to talk about it. And then, you know, even the chancellor was like, it's been discussed before. So, yeah, I can't imagine. And for him, like you were saying, Finlay, to use these different hot topics, you know, not commit suicide. Like, I did not know that they don't say commit suicide. What was the term that they used?
Oh, he said it was some twist of the words.
Yeah.
And O'Leary just said, I don't care. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, because they said the stigma of it, because commit is like a crime. But I was like, and I mean, it probably does. I bet that's what they say. I just never knew. Because at first I thought he was going to say he unalived himself, because, you know, that's what they say on social media, because you can't say kill or suicide and different things. But yeah, I was, you know, I learned a lot. I'm going to say a lot, but, you know, it was some very interesting topics that are probably hot topics that are going on now, because bullying is big. Kids committing suicide because of bullying is a big thing.
Oh, here it is. So I actually found an article.
Mm-hmm.
An article says language matters, why we don't say committed suicide.
Okay.
And there's a whole article, and instead it's died of suicide or suicide death. But in the book, they did say died of suicide.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess this is in 2021. This is from 21. So this article is in 21. I'll try to remember to link it in case you guys are curious, because I never heard that before.
No. Yeah. Wow.
So I guess that's my old lady self coming out, because I didn't even know to say died of suicide.
Yeah, I didn't either. And now that when I did hear that, I said, I think I do remember it being said for some other person. That, we've had a few people who've probably who have died of suicide. Excuse me. And it was probably stated in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably just glanced over it because all I saw was suicide. And when you think suicide, it was self
inflicted.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's so many. I understand why there's a lot of sensitivity around the words in that situation, right?
Yeah. Especially when teenagers are involved.
Yeah. And that is like a huge thing to tackle in this book. And somehow it wasn't contrite. It wasn't,
not.
He managed to do it well, talk about this in a way that made sense. And the vendetta made sense. Revenge it made sense to the story.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that fallout also made sense for the other characters, how it was a domino effect and kind of reached out and touched Ryan years later.
Yeah. All that interconnection. But yeah, I would agree with you that the way he did with the suicide, it was done well. It was it had that emotional attachment to it, but it wasn't lingering. It wasn't it didn't take, I won't say it didn't take away from the story, because suicide is very emotional, but he tied that with the grief of the mom and how the dad handled the grief of the death of his son, and also the grief of losing his wife, who was there physically, but she wasn't there emotionally anymore. So yeah, I would say I agree. He handled that whole storyline very well.
Yeah. Okay, I think this is a great space to take a break. We're going to listen to these commercials. By doing that, you are supporting the podcast. Don't forget to check out the book review journal, available right now on Amazon. Click the link in the show notes and pick up yours today. When we come back, we will finish our conversation, rate the book, and of course, talk about the audiobook narrators. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. All right, welcome back. Quickest break ever, right? Am I right?
Yes, you are.
All right, what else should we talk about? There's a lot here.
Oh gosh, girl, it is so much. I guess we could talk about, we realize that Allison, is it Allison or Alicent? It doesn't matter.
Allison, Alison.
Okay.
Allison.
That she is alive, that she survived. And come to find out, her father, the CPA, Michael, was actually, when they were supposed to go undercover, the dad, O'Leary's people came in and tried to take them, but the dad is ex-military and basically took care of them. Allison got behind the wheel, which I thought was a very funny storyline, because she was just getting her learner's permit, right?
Yeah.
And did not drive that well, but she kind of wanted to run away because she was like, I don't want to go under witness protection, blah blah blah, and starts running
she tried
out of
to run away.
Yeah, and the the FBI agents was like, don't worry about it, we'll get her, we've handled this before. And the dad kind of recognized something's not right, and then we find out he's ex-military, all those things. He recognized something was wrong. They got away. And that's how we kind of realized, whoa, I think that was when we realized this story is told in a different point of view. But then Allison's video went viral so many years later, and
because Allison wasn't her original name.
Yeah,
her original name was something else. I don't remember. Is that it? I'm not sure.
I don't know why I think
it's
Taylor.
Because at the end, she talked about her name before and her name. Yeah. So she just didn't. She separated that person of who she was during that incident from who she was as Allison.
I think it was Taylor.
Taylor?
I think it was Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah. Which was another kind of device to kind of not mislead us just a little bit because the names are different. But when you go into witness protection or you try to hide, you change your name.
Yeah. But her dad didn't change his first name.
He changed. Yeah. Which made it easier for them to find him. But he said, I've been doing business this way for so long, it made it difficult. He actually said, the character said in the book, this why. Because the guy was like, you stupid. You didn't even change your first name.
He was like,
that's why.
It's hard when you deal with money, basically, in your first name. But, when her video went viral, O'Leary's people found it and they were like, hey, we know where they're at. We know where they are. And they caught her on Lover's Lane, basically, with Ryan, and hired No Pinky, whatever his name was, Sweeney, a.k.a.
I don't even think they hired him. I think he owed them.
Oh, that's right.
And he tortured him and they said, hey, we got a job. You want to get free of this? You do this. Go yank this chick up and bring her to us.
Right. And what happened? What the heck happened with that? But anyway, long story short, Poppy's brother was in love with Allison. He followed them to Lover's Lane, saw this guy sneaking around, and told the dad, right? Didn't he tell his dad or something? He
called his father,
who was a sheriff or a police officer. Oh, my nose. And basically said, hey, something is going on here. The dad calls because they all knew that Michael was in hiding, basically. So they're like, hey, somebody is trying to kidnap your daughter. They all come in and the dad takes care of the two thugs that were trying to.
Yeah. So that was the waiting place. So the No Pinky Finger got him, took him there. But then Poppy's little brother followed and was hiding, called the daddy. Daddy called the reinforcements. They come, get everybody out the car and kind of threaten old boy. And he runs off. And then one of them runs off to try to catch his ass. The No Pinky guy.
Yeah.
And then the two mobster guys, not O'Leary, one of the others. There were two other.
And
And they, the father, the accountant, hides his daughter, hides in the bush. They come, they get out, pow, pow.
And stuffs them in his car.
Stuff them in the car, in his own car, and push them in the lake.
Yeah, I was like, there's the OGs right there. There's the gangsters, the ex-military.
The military. And that's why it made sense, because all of them were ex-military and they all been through stuff. It wasn't a real little squeaky clean accountant trying to do this crazy mess.
No.
It was military guys.
Yeah, and they all were connected, and the sheriff's department basically kind of covered, this issue.
They covered it up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they told Chaz, basically, shut your mouth, go on home, little boy. You saw nothing here. This is all a figment of your imagination. But he kept a shirt, and those were all those little red herrings. But yeah, all that little storyline just came into play. Like you're saying, this wasn't some guy who you think has watched a lot of Law and Order and could,
And the funny thing is that Allison was about the same age as Chaz, because when she later talks to who was it she was talking to? I think it was, I don't remember, but she was saying, remember, it's such and such's brother. So they all know each other.
Yes. Right.
And it's like...
yeah, because the class reunion was about to start. Yeah. So, and I think she was like, Pippi was not Pippi. Oh my God. Poppy is, I think, the younger sister, right? Yeah. So...
yeah, because they were like, oh, and even when she came, when she was, I guess, talking to someone, and people figured out that she was such and such a sister, Chaz's sister, little sister, like, oh, they were kind of giving her the eye when she was talking to the friends. Like, they knew her. Yeah. They knew of her. Right. They knew her brother.
Yeah.
Like, oh, interesting. The little the gang of friends, the little three girls.
Yes, Juliet, the one who wouldn't shut up. But yeah, I did. I enjoyed, and I usually don't enjoy when there's so many points of views, because it can get confusing. And like you said, it got a little bit, but once you got the hang of it, and I probably would say the audiobook was helpful because it was 3 narrators, which also helped with the different points of view, because then you could be like, wait a minute, this is so-and-so.
Yeah, the 3 narrators definitely helped. And I think that is also a mistake that a lot of other authors do. And we recently had a book, we're like, there should have been more than 1 narrator. Stop cheaping out. Hire the narrators so it's right. And that is what they do with this book. They needed 3.
Yeah. They definitely needed 3 because it helped to distinguish who was telling the story. And it brought it to life even more. So I can't imagine if I was reading this book, I probably would have to take a lot more notes. Just be like, so-and-so is this and she was that. Okay. Yeah.
We need our own board. Make the connections. Draw the lines.
Yeah, but I believe the audio, was very helpful. So if you can, listen to the audiobook.
Yeah. I cannot say enough how impressed I am that in such a short amount of pages, he was able to explain, this author was able to connect. There's a lot of interconnected relationships, different timelines, different points of view, different locations.
Yeah.
And it all came together.
Yeah. And that is a lot. Because, and I should have looked to see how far Kansas is from Philly, but I don't think it's that far. And I'm assuming it's not, because, they kidnapped the sheriff and brought him up to Philly, and they were like, why'd you do that? They were like, a missing sheriff is better than a dead body. So, but yeah, all those...
They told Allison, don't ever expect to see that guy again.
Not at all. And then you had the dirty FBI agent. It was just, I was like,
that was kind of tossed in though at the end though, but it made sense still.
Yeah, it did. It was. And then after a while, after you listen, you're like, okay, I could see her being, the dirty one, because there were a few things that was questionable, and I was like,
And she had this unique way of telling stories when she's trying to talk to people, and everybody like, shut the hell up, girl! Don't nobody really care what you talking about.
These fucking riddles.
I think Allison said, "Look, talk plainly, okay?
Yes,
you can get out my car. Get out."
Talking in these damn Malcolm Gladwell riddles and shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it was
they're not even your own. Get out of here.
Oh, when she socked her in the end, I was like, yes, yes. And
just throw a punch right here.
Yeah. But yeah, I really did. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the ending. It was a good story. And I finished it today.
Me too.
And not to say, that it was, I just wanted to kind of have it like nice and fresh, because I listened to it at the gym and I was like, I'm going to try and like pace myself so it can be nice and fresh by the time I get here. And I just smiled at the end, when, with the dad, because dad is doing better. Dad was making dinner and she could bring a guest. And her brother was like, this isn't the military. You can bring whoever you want.
You
and
can
I
bring
was
a
like,
girlfriend. As long as they're nice to you, we don't care. Like, oh.
Right, because he said from this whatever GBA, and I was like, oh, Chantel.
But I could tell something earlier when she had an interaction with her. I said, oh.
Chantel said, Poppy motherfucking McGee. I was like, oh, okay. I get that. Because, I think she said, would you want to go out for a drink or something? And then she kind of mentioned, have you ever been? And I was like, oh, this isn't a little, come on, let's just hang out. Because they're from two different, because they don't work together. Right. I mean, they work in tandem, but it's not like they're a coworker. Where it's like, hey, we had a rough day. Let's go have drinks.
Right.
No. Yeah. So
I
was teasing at the end. I was like, oh, look at that.
I actually also like that Ryan and Allison did not end up together.
Amen.
Yeah.
I did too. I really did too, because he was pining for her. But it was like, at one point, I felt like, was he pining or was he just feeling bad that what happened under his watch?
I think that those feelings were kind of jumbled together for a while. But he did like his new friend, Nora. What's her name, Nora? Yeah, he was into her. You could tell. And she was into him, because when he told his story to all his friends at once, the author kind of pointed out that she kind of had this sadness about her, like, like, dang, oh, but I'll help you. What can we do? So clearly she liked him and he liked her. But I do think that his feelings were kind of tied in with what he felt when he was a teenager. Yeah. He had to separate it.
Yeah. And I felt like too that they had grown apart, definitely, but she was just, but it was that closure. I liked the way that they had the closure, like, hey, you're safe. We're good. And, they'll probably be friends for the rest of their life. But I was really glad that happily ever after wasn't
maybe
Ryan
one day they
and
can
Allison.
laugh about it. You remember that time people thought I murdered you? No.
Yeah. Yeah. I was glad that the HEA was not for Ryan and Allison, but for Poppy, who, I did. I enjoyed that too.
Yeah, which is excellent, because I like a realistic ending, and that's what we got. That would have been so stupid if those two ended up together. After all of that.
Yeah. This girl has gone through how many different personalities or identities? I won't say personalities.
She was on her third one identity. In like 4 years.
Yeah. And she basically hadn't really found herself until Chad. And then Chaz. Wait, let's go. Let's finish that up too. Because, Chaz was like, I'm done with this shit. This is it. It ends here. He let all of them go. And I was like, okay. Because I think, he had that come to Jesus moment.
He's tired. Like, he had his own situation. Like, his little grandson, who is the thespian, he ended up having a grandson that was being bullied.
Spirit.
Oh, he like, I'm going to take care of it, baby. Don't worry about it. You go do your plays. It's fine.
He's like, I don't know what the hell going on, but that's my baby up there.
Yeah. And I think he was just over all of it. He's like, fuck this. This is done.
Well, remember, like he said, when Shane was like, you not going over there? He's like, I'm a little too long in the tooth for these international flights. So I knew, like, he's like, O can handle that.
When he had Allison and Ryan, he like, this little young buck, he's a big guy. He'll take me out. What is this?
Yeah, he was like,
Don't, if he gets the upper hand, it's done.
He sure thought about it. He was like,
Yeah.
I've cut my losses. Everybody else, they dead too. After he found out that they did not survive, he's like, nah, they just escaped.
I mean, he did pound that one guy's face in the art gallery. Allison's like, hold on, you can stop.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
He's
okay,
like, Dodge, stop, please.
The irony, though, he did not kill him, but then her father came in and killed him.
I know. Yeah. And then, the way it ended for Chaz, because Chaz wind up taking over the business because Shane had died. Shane's brother was killed by Michael with the detonator. God, this could be a movie.
It could be.
It could definitely be a movie. But I love the fact that he didn't write it to be a movie. You know what I mean? Like, this didn't feel like it was written to be a movie. This was written to be a book. That's how I felt. But, so he wind up being the boss of, the crime syndicate or whatever. And after his grandson's play, he's like, my people ain't even opening doors for me.
Slackers. What they doing?
Where they at? He's like, I tell you, these young whippersnappers, they had no respect. Back in my day, we would have blah, blah, blah. And he gets into his car, opens the door, and all his henchmen are dead. And who comes around the corner but Leo, whatever, the brother of... Wasn't it the brother of one of the men he put the cement shoes on?
Yes. It was. He said, I was just doing my job. He like, I
you
get
didn't
it.
have to do my brother like that.
He's like, I just did what I was supposed to do. And he like, I understand, but Papa.
And that was a funny thing. It was like, we had sadness, we had love, and we had laughter in this book. Because I sure laughed. Because I was like, I know I should not laugh at Chaz. But he was like, yeah, I know you had, and I'm just doing mine.
I mean, honestly, and that's the thing, like, some of these people did some really bad things, but the author made them not seem so bad like him. He did do bad things, a lot of bad things. And I mean, hell, he pretty much also had his grandson's bullies. Something happened to them. He did something.
Yeah.
He told that guy, I need a favor. So he sick people on these school age bullies, so he's not like a good person, not really. So it's kind of like that's what he deserved. Is it deserve it?
Yeah. And I think he probably knew his end was going to come eventually. I mean, you don't live that life and think you're just going to, you know what I mean? Like you're going to get out of this unscathed. You have to know.
You're stupid if you don't think that someone's going to be gunning for you at all times. Revenge is real. And you've killed enough people. You've done things to enough people that someone's always going to be looking for you.
Yeah. Yep. You are watching your guards. Back. Yep. Yeah.
Little whack ass guards. He was too comfortable. He was too comfortable.
Yeah, he was. He had got and they got him. I mean, in his most vulnerable state. And that's how they do it. He got to
see his last little play, and
it was a good story.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a good story. And like I said, I think I went through every emotion with this book. Smile, a little teared up to hear about Anthony, and the ending with the laughter. It was a good story.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to figure out what my rating is going to be. Well, look, in my head.
Even with the little cute ending, like Ryan, you could tell there's still some scars there. He's got some growing to do, but he's going to make it. I feel like he's going to make it. He might end up with his little girlfriend, Nora, who end up being like the lead of the law review, which I liked. He's a far second.
Yes. Exactly.
All the characters, I feel like, got a realistic ending.
They did. I do too. I don't think anything was far-fetched. That damn Michael. That, you want to talk about Papa Bear? Yeah. That man didn't play. He drove that damn car into the bear cage. He was like, don't worry about it. You won't get me. You can have me, but don't mess with my daughter.
which kind of, he even talked to, Poppy's dad in the hospital. He like, hey, dude, I got like a couple options. They're not good, but what do you think? In that last one where he just said he gonna have to take himself out with him.
Mm-hmm.
He knew it.
Yeah.
And his friend knew it.
Mm-hmm.
He all sick, but he kind of gave him the yes by squeezing his hand. He's like, yep, that's it.
Yep.
So he knew, I got to go down. So, of course, I'm sure Allison's feeling that, from her father dying, but.
Yeah. But I think, with them being on the run and what she's probably seen with him, she probably knew that's what my dad would have done. That's,
I mean, your father's killed people, like literally killed people. We're not even talking about in the service. We're talking about in his own time. He killed people.
Yeah, because I think he had mentioned in the book that he said, after he had left, he was never going to kill again. He didn't think he was going to have to, but
he killed 4 people. He killed the 2 guys in the car. He killed the one guy who came and he blew him up outside the bank.
Yep, that was Shane's brother, the one who was trying to get the money. Look,
the greed. It's always the greed.
Was like, you transfer this much to Shane, and transfer this much to me.
Send me 5 million.
He won't know that you invested.
No. And like, he even knew, the character even knew, you should do all that online. What are you talking about? Go to the bank. But he was so greedy. He wanted the money. He fell for it and got blown up for it.
Yeah, he's like, this bank looks like it's closed.
Yeah.
But he saw dollar signs.
He did. And then the last person when he killed himself and him. So I guess he killed 5 people.
Yeah, because he killed Shane, the wife. What you call it?
He killed someone's wife? Whose wife did he kill?
The wife was in the car.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, because remember when they were driving, Shane reached back and squeezed her hand.
That's right.
So he killed Shane, Gina, the 2 men who kidnapped Allison, and he killed Shane's brother at the bank. So that's 5. Damn.
Yeah, he killed 5 people.
The body count.
But in that case, if he wasn't going to kill him, Shane was going to kill him. So it was
definitely. He was going to go.
Yeah, he was like, this is the end.
I'm going to go on my own terms.
Yeah, he came for him. The boss came for him in the end. He's like, I've sent enough people. They all don't come back. I'll take care of this.
Yeah. And he's like, Allison is straight for the rest of her life because you can best believe that she knew where that money was.
Yeah. Because he never transferred it. $20 million.
Nope.
He stole 10 and turned it into 20. And in my mind, I was like, I wonder if he made more than 20. And he just told them 20.
Him. A good accountant. Yep.
Okay, let's rate it. Because I am similar to you. When I sat down today, I did not have a rating.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to talk it out and I'll decide my rating during this conversation.
Yeah. Like, right after it was kind of like a 4, but the more I talk about this damn story, I'm almost like want to say 5 because.
Wow.
Yeah. It was not a 3. It was definitely a 4. But I'm almost like, this book had like everything possible. But I'm like,
but there's something nagging me. Something doesn't want me to give it a 5.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
I can't tell
I know
what.
Right. And that's where I'm at. I'm like that between there. But it is something that it's not like full circle where it's just like, ugh. But the more we talk about it, it's kind of like, it's a great story. But it's not like one of those, gosh, this was a great story.
I think maybe if I really tried to nail down, maybe it's that it wasn't very original. Okay, so the construction of it was, the ties were, but each individual kind of plot device wasn't new.
No, because we talked about that we've seen this before.
Yeah, so maybe it's that. Something in this.
It's niggling. It is. But it's like you said, it's such a great story that it had all of this. But it is where I'm like,
So where I'm sitting, if we were a podcast that did halves, this would be a perfect opportunity for half.
Mm-hmm.
But since we don't do halves, I know my rating is going to be a 4.
4. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't think it's been a long time since I've been able to say I laughed, I cried, with all these. But yeah, there is something missing. I don't know that's giving me that vibe, but I'm like, it could be. I can feel it, but yeah.
There's just a little something.
Mm-hmm.
The je ne sais quoi. I don't know. It's just something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't see myself singing. And usually with my 5s, I'm like, everybody read it.
Yeah.
Everybody!
And you know what? Yeah. And this is not, I wouldn't be screaming this. When you say that, I wouldn't scream from the rooftops that this should be like, if you don't read anything else this year, you should read.
Right.
It wouldn't be this. No.
Mm-mm.
But I would say, you know what? This was a good book. Or somebody say, have you read that? Yeah. I think you would find it interesting.
Yeah, but if someone wanted something new or to try an author they haven't tried before, and if they haven't read him, I would recommend this.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually, I went back and I looked at the other ratings. The Night Shift I also gave 4 by him.
Okay. And I kind of read like a review of something, and some people said some people said they didn't like this one as much as the one before this, which I think he had another book between the Night Shift and this.
He did. It was Every Last Fear. And that was on our radar for a while, but it fell off. I don't know what. I remember that being in our lineup at one point. And when we started talking and switching things around, it dropped off at some point. And I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. And it's rated a 3.93.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? It came out in 2021. Or is it the one you talk about? What have we done?
Oh, well, I know I was trying to read the one that I was saying, Every Last Fear.
Yeah, because that cover looks familiar.
Okay, so that was before. So what have we done? Yeah, I did not know much about that one.
Okay.
And it seems like oddly, so I'm looking at the ratings, right? So Every Last Fear was in 21. That had about a hair under 47,000. The Night Shift, I think, was his most famous, most popular book, coming in around 66,000 ratings.
Yeah.
Then What Have We Done? It kind of drops to 27,000 ratings. And then If Something Happened to Me right now, and it's a new release still, but right now it's sitting around a hair under 16,000 ratings. So I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean that they didn't do enough work getting this in front of people? Yeah,
I think so. But I mean, May, that's still what, 3 months? Do you think it should be more?
Yeah, I think so. But again, maybe they got a little comfortable after the Night Shift. They had a high response to that, and they just got a little lazy with it. I don't know, because I didn't see this didn't even come across. I don't know how I even saw this when we were searching. Maybe we were just searching people we had read before.
Yeah, it came up. Yeah, I don't remember this like coming across my timeline as something you should read. And I think most of that, like you and I are in enough groups of between Instagram or just people that we follow that we would in our algorithm would get, thrillers, crime fiction, mystery, excuse me, suspense books that, that would come across as books you should read. And I don't remember this being one. I think, like you said, it came across as one that we've read before, because I remember you saying, hey, we've read Alex before. Maybe we should try him again. So, yeah.
So I'm glad we did, though. I'm glad we did come across it. Because I think I'll definitely read him again.
Well, isn't that something? I scroll down. I don't know if you see it on Goodreads. Scroll down to the bottom, and it's Goodreads articles and lists featuring this book. 6 books you should read, recommended by readers. And his book comes up. Oh, and that was dated the day his book came out. So, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I am glad that I read this because I gave Night Shift 3 stars. and I think I would probably like to read another one of his books.
Yeah, I definitely will. Don't know when, but definitely will.
Yeah.
Up next, you guys, we are reading The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine in September. And I can't believe we're already talking about September. That sounds crazy. Like, what happened to the summer?
I know.
I'm very confused how the whole summer just flew by. But anyway.
I don't even want to say it anymore.
I know. But we read the prequel on our own and we liked it. So I'm thinking, and this one is not a new release, y'all. It's been around for a while.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it does.
Yeah, we had heard about this was one of those books you should read. I had a friend who kept saying, if you haven't read the blah, 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 you should. So we're trying some new stuff this year.
Yes, and I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. Right now, the ratings are 3.97 on Goodreads, and there are over 375,000 ratings. So this is definitely, it came out in 2017, is definitely a popular book. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We may or may not read the next one. We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. I mean, if this one is great, yay.
Yeah, it might be an extra book because we really don't do series. But I mean, we did one year because we were just like,
we were so enamored.
To know, right? We wanted to know so bad what happened in the next book. So
that was a complete fluke too. I didn't think that would happen,
but it was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun ride.
Yeah.
The whole group was like completely off their rocker with this shit. It was so crazy. It was so crazy.
Yeah, we had one book club member. She was just sitting there all nice and calm and blah, blah, blah. And we looking at her and you read the... She's like, yeah.
Yeah, with the next one.
And then we're like, if she read it, we're done. We're going there. Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
So we did. She's like, I wanted to know what was going to happen next. So,
yeah. So who knows what will happen with this? But we'll see. I mean, I'm down to find out what's in store with The Last Mrs. Parrish. And I think that ends today's show. Classy, anything else?
No.
Okay. So we are done today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast, the entire episode. We appreciate you for doing that. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. And of course, if you are on Patreon or if you are a supporter on the Spreaker app, there's an after show available for you to listen to right now. And that's it. We'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys. Did you enjoy today's episode? If so, please head over to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave a positive 5-star review. It's a simple action that makes a big difference. You can also like this episode on your favorite podcast player or share it with your fellow bookworm friends on social media. Joining the Shelf Addiction Patreon family is another way to support us. For as little as $2 a month, you can help our team create even more amazing bookish content. If Patreon isn't your thing, consider becoming a supporter on the Spreaker app for just $5 a month and gain access to exclusive audio-only content. You can find me everywhere, including Instagram, X, and TikTok under the handle Shelf Addiction. Join our book club of the same name on the book club's website and app, where we discuss all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. Thanks for tuning in.